I watched Pixar's Soul and it left me feeling absolutely nothing. If you draw any sort of inspiration from this film, then all the power to you. I'm not here to judge what people find motivating, but I do want to enlighten people to what I believe was Disney's process in making this film. I don't think anyone should be giving Pixar all of this credit for making such a deep movie, and I'm going to explain by sharing why Soul isn't inspiring. There is nothing more frustrating to me than a movie which claims to be so deep just to fail at getting its main lessons across. Soul includes a few big ones, like finding your spark. Joe is a teacher for this lesson and 22 is his main student. He does have other physical students he helps to inspire, but it's mainly about him and 22. I thought this was a lesson they'd focus on throughout the film, but after lazily dedicating some time to help 22 find her spark in this big factory, it really becomes an afterthought. 22 then discovers these interesting things on her own, but hey, wouldn't it have been great to have a teacher guide her through this? Maybe someone who is a literal teacher for a living? 22's focus is on finding your purpose and reason to live. Now this is almost the same thing as the first lesson, but it goes a lot deeper than just finding out what you're good at. Finding your spark is like somebody discovering what job they want to do for the rest of their life, but discovering your purpose and how to stay true to that purpose so you can feel fulfilled is another story. A story which they abruptly just shut down because Joe discovers he doesn't want the life he's been building up this whole time. The only epiphany he seems to have at the end is to enjoy the little things. But that lesson doesn't really work because this past hour we've been seeing him work hard to make his dream come true so he can live his dream from now on. I get the vibe that he doesn't want it at all anymore, and they leave off without clearly showing us what Joe's going to do now to follow his own message. In the last seconds of the movie they throw this line at us and it just comes out of nowhere. It's like they were scrambling to find something inspirational to end on and they just went with this generic message. It doesn't fit here though because Joe was consistently focused on the big picture and we never got good enough implications that he was absorbing the little things in life. Like when his friend tells him they should talk more, he doesn't react like this is a big revelation to him. He continually ignores all the little things that he's now randomly preaching to celebrate. We never see his girlfriend. We don't know what moments he shared with his dad. If we did and then we saw how torn he was about never caring about those things, then this message would mean something. But we don't. There were so many scenes that I place a deeper meaning on, but I don't feel that was Disney's intent. I think I constantly just gave them credit where credit wasn't due. For example, when Joe first falls, he asks why no one else is running, and some guy says, I don't know. I took that as someone saying that they wanted to die. That's deep. That's a genuine subject you can give commentary on, but instead all of these people are just blindly accepting their fate. Is Joe the only one that doesn't want to die? That's a weird message to illustrate. And I really felt that Joe should have died at the end. I thought he was going to discover that his purpose wasn't helping people find their spark. He clearly showed his capability in doing that and could have continued doing so in the afterlife. That would have given so much more meaning to any of these three lessons, but nope, there are never any consequences for Disney's characters anymore. And really, all of this feels as disingenuous and bland as it does because the movie needed to be as easily digestible as possible. Pixar and Disney in general can no longer take a stand when it comes to these big subjects like growing up, accomplishing your dreams, or finding yourself. That's what in the end really makes his new films feel like they don't have a soul. It offends me that they would bring up such an important conversation like discovering your life's purpose and then go nowhere with that idea. If you can't do something 100%, then don't do it at all. It's like how off-putting Ralph Breaks the Internet feels when they all of a sudden try to introduce the idea of getting hate comments. It isn't until an hour into this movie that Disney was like, oh yeah, hate comments are a thing on the internet, so we need to include something on that, but it comes out of nowhere and is so disingenuous because they can hardly get across what that's really about. Now, do I think Disney could or would ever get into how nasty those things can be? Of course not. But then again, to that I would say, if you can't do something all the way, then don't do it at all. And especially don't say you're the best at giving social commentary when you don't take a proper stand against any of these issues. Just introducing these lessons without letting the characters really go through the struggles that come along with them is meaningless. It's not inspiring or innovative, but manipulative. Sorry to make such an obvious pun, but Soul does not have a soul. I'm talking about this because I really want Disney to stop thinking that they're giving the world's best commentary on life or growing up when they are just a money-hungry, manipulative corporation. Everyone said this movie has so many layers and it goes so deep, but it only goes far enough to tug at your emotions and then pulls back so nobody gets mad that Disney went too far. They will tell you whatever you want to hear, but they still need to cover their bases first. I just want people to open their eyes to how bland Disney's movies have become. Even a movie like Soul, which touches on huge subjects like life and death, suffers from Disney's inability to take a stand on certain issues and to keep up their creative integrity even if some people don't agree with their ideals. There is so much wasted potential in a lot of their movies because of this. Oftentimes, it just feels like they're creating these films because they have these specific scenes they want to make, and when they get to the end, they just drop a generic message on top of it. It's an incredibly flawed way of filmmaking, which does make for some really exciting retweetable moments, but which removes all the emotion in the rest of the film. The theme is what connects each scene and moves it seamlessly to the next. The rewatchability of these kinds of movies are so bad because I'm just waiting for the next big scene, instead of getting into what the characters are really going through. I just don't trust Disney anymore to make movies on deep subjects. Certainly not when they can't dish out consequences to any of their main characters. Characters can be willing to sacrifice themselves, get angry, or sometimes be a full-on jerk, but they will always be redeemed by some convenient plot device by the end. That That erases any good lesson or character development and is what made Soul feel incredibly lifeless.